What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about, Willis?
What if wherever they come from, somebody is in Minot shutting off the missiles? Why? I mean, is that to show us that they can do that? Is that why would you do that? Thank you so much. Yes. David?
You've asked us to speculate. I don't know. You probably don't know.
No, I don't.
But these missiles being shut down, Captain Salas described 2 flights that he's aware of. I described to you 1 flight of 10 missiles that I'm aware of. But I'm also aware of other launch officers who've described to me similar situations. So, you know, it's not unique that him and I have been involved here. I mean, this was a situation that was occurring quite often when I served in 1966 and 67. And who knows that it's not still happening out there. There's no active officers of any kind that will come out and admit that right now. But what I'd like to know is, what's your speculation on these missiles being shut down?
Is that rhetorical, or you need an answer?
I'd like an answer to that.
Okay, let me come back to you.
Because I'm sure it would be just as good as
that
my
might be
answer.
something to end on, too. Let me get...
Can I just offer one very 30-second opinion? I feel that we really do not have enough data, even now, to know exactly why this is happening. Because despite the number of cases where this does appear to have happened, there are thousands of missiles. And not all of them have been shut down, as far as we can tell. So if they're doing this, they're obviously not doing it uniformly. And I don't really feel that any researcher has enough data to know precisely what those motivations might be. They obviously, they seem to have demonstrated superiority over our technology, that's for sure. So at discrete moments, they seem to be able to do this, but they're not doing it uniformly.
I certainly want to appreciate and thank you all for coming again. Every day is a different day. This is the first day of the rest of all of our lives. How we use it, how we put it together, how we share and give back is what we're here for. So I commend you for your testimony. A lot of notes, a lot of work, and my mind is boggled. I think I want to ask you first, Mr. Hazelton. Royal Air Force, security, police, hundreds of incidents, yet today. What is the position of the British government on UFOs? And is it similar to U.S., who are cousins, or is it something different, or do we do this in British? Do they speak? Tell me, what's the position there?
The bottom line is that there is the special relationship with America, and America is quite clearly the most secretive government in the world on UFOs. And it leads, their fingers are in every decent UFO report around the world.
I want to know about Britain. We know Britain.
Okay, well, Britain follows generally America's lead on most things, and Britain does the same. They have been releasing over the last 3.5 years several batches of files, which are in terms of papers, hundreds of thousands of single sheets of paper. However, the majority of the paper that has been released is very low level. It's mostly correspondence. In amongst that, there are some very good cases. For example, a British case in 1957, Milton Torres, a pilot, US pilot, flying over Ipswich in Suffolk, England, and he was stationed there flying a Super Sabre. He was vectored towards a radar target, and he was ordered to fire his missile at the target. He actually got the launch codes. When he went to launch, it jammed.
Okay, stop.
Okay, in Britain.
Yeah. You don't give me cases. We got cases.
Okay.
I want to know what's happening in Britain. I want to know what's happening with
Britain
the military.
is very
I want to know what's
lame.
happening with the government.
The media is very similar as to the US in not reporting. It belittles the subject, and it's criminal. And there is very little or no difference in the UK to the US.
This is a world phenomenon that we're discussing.
Absolutely.
You all know it way better than we do.
Absolutely.
We've heard testimony now 3 days and read a month leading up to this, videos and all. Ms. Howe, and it's really for all of you. And I think you ended your presentation on something like this. What and why is such a profound reality
Yes.
not being built upon, internalized? If I have my military who comes to me and tells me they've got data, experiences, and other kinds of things that this is real, other countries, I've been on the elevator and in the hotels with others from Chile and Peru and everywhere else in the world, or many places in the world. When we already acknowledge that whatever it is more significant than what we have here, and obviously in Britain and some of the other countries. The why of it, your scientific data is outstanding. I think the answer is probably in a coalition of nations and not in our governments, obviously, because the governments know something we don't know and they aren't sharing it, and it could be critical and catastrophic for the human being.
Well, let me add a postscript to yesterday's presentation on Bentwaters. It's a major case. It involved dozens of military people on a very important base. I, for one, at least, have been exposed to information from two people that within 24 hours of the Jim Penniston, John Burroughs, and Ed Kovansack encounter with the black, glassy craft with the hieroglyphic symbols on it in the forest, that within 24 hours in the UK, the National Security Agency of the United States took over everything that was happening at Bentwaters.
They testified to that.
This is important because it means that within 24 hours, a decision had been made somewhere at some level between the United States and the UK that the United States would take precedent through the National Security Agency.
Okay, stop. We heard that. No, I'm not good. I don't know the scientific part of it. I'm just going to tell you the political and what we do and what things we know about our country and the world and our relationships with various countries of the world. You got to teach us something else. Well, wait, let me just finish my point, because don't give me that testimony we had yesterday. We all heard it, we got notes, and we got to read it and embellish it. I want to move it to the action phase. You came here to ask us to do something, and we got to know how, what, and why. Haven't got there yet, and maybe by Friday or next month, or as we move this over the next couple of years, we'll get closer than you've got in 30 years, and you're to be commended. What you have unveiled is something is there, that we're not alone. I'm still learning. I want to learn more about that, in fact. But as I learn it, the existence as we know it is being jeopardized. It may not exist next week, let alone 30 more years.
I was only going to your point about international versus the United States. It's my impression that the United States, for some reason politically, is carrying the weight of the disclosure. I don't know why, because other countries have bodies, have craft, have photographs, have physical evidence. But the United States, going back to World War II and decisions that were made, for some reason, it is this country that seems to have the pivotal weight in disclosure.
What do you think that is? U.S. is if it's not for real, it's perceived to be the power of the world.
And that's exactly the reason why.
And right. So we sit here in the power of the world,
but it's loss of
power not of this world, or we don't know how it does.
Do you think America wants to lose that power?
Hold it. You can't interrupt a congressperson. I will yield to you in a moment, though. I will, because I just want to. We want to get to what we need to get to, really, and how we get to make it something so that we can all live another 100 years, or thereabouts. So I'm going to yield to you, Mr. Hilton, in just a second, and you too. I don't want to. I'm just getting antsy up here. Today you all took it to, every day it's another level, woo. But I hate how we trivialize this situation.
Exactly.
I hate the men with the horns and all that, and what my colleague read yesterday. That's been since day one. And I'm telling you, we know it's so profound.
Yes.
And so big, and so real. When you don't know how to deal with it, you trivialize it. So when people think that we're coming, you all have been commending us, we've all taken a lot of flack and we're proud of it. We're servants of the people. But to come here and then hear this other crap, you know, in my home paper as well, you know, I don't even talk to them. Because you can't say conspiracy if you're a congresswoman, because they really think you're wacko. But there's something out here that's been coordinated from our leadership, not the president person, but the office and our military and our press. That's a national conglomeration that continues. And unless we can somehow step outside of that and build some kind of coalitions and work and pray and build and speak and teach, we're going to lose. And what will the world be? It might be those things they've been drawn for all of my life.
Commander David Fravor still can't explain what he says he saw that day. November 2004, the Navy fighter pilot was on a training mission west of San Diego when he was ordered to check out something in the water not far away. On a clear day, over a smooth ocean, he saw the object, waves breaking over it, and says he saw something hovering above it.
It's randomly moving north, south, east, west, just random, you know, just stopping, going the other direction, like you could do with a helicopter, but a little bit more abrupt. It looks like a 40-foot long tic-tac with no wings.
Fravor says he and his four-man team tracked the object for several minutes until it just disappeared. Tonight, CNN has learned the Pentagon had a secretive program to research UFOs like the one Fravor spotted. The project was called the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program, run by an official named Luis Elizondo.
I think this is a national security imperative. We have clear things that we do not understand how they work, operating in areas that we can't control.
A defense official tells CNN the program cost at least $22 million over 5 years before it was shut down in 2012. According to the New York Times and Politico, which first reported this story, tens of millions of dollars for the project were pushed through by former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. Those publications say a lot of the money for the Pentagon UFO program went to a company called Bigelow Aerospace, run by a longtime friend of Reid's, Robert Bigelow, a big believer in UFOs. Public records show Bigelow contributed about $20,000 to Reid and his Political Action Committee.
That campaign contributor got research contracts from this program. That just is a bad picture. It doesn't look good for anybody. It's hard to imagine that something that came about that way and profited somebody who pushed for the program was a good use of taxpayer money.
A Pentagon spokesman, in fact, told CNN the program was shuttered because there were, quote, other higher priority issues that merited funding.
It's definitely crazy to spend $22 million to research UFOs. Pilots are always going to see things that they can't identify, and we should probably look into them. But to identify them as UFOs, to target UFOs to research, that is not the priority we have as a national security matter right now.
But pilots like Fravor, who says he saw something, see merits in the program.
What if it is real, because I think it's real because I saw it? And what if there's more of these? And what if we do nothing?
Now, just a short time ago, Senator Reid responded to CNN, saying he's, quote, proud of this program and its groundbreaking studies. Speak for themselves, he says. Reid says it's silly and counterproductive to politicize the serious questions raised by the work of the UFO program. The head of that aerospace firm, Robert Bigelow, did not respond to CNN's multiple requests for comment by our deadline. Wolf?
Brian, there's also information that former Senator Reid tried to keep information about this entire program out of public view.
That's right, Wolf. The New York Times says Reid acknowledged to them that he and two other senators, Ted Stevens and Daniel Inouye, both deceased, did not want public debate on the Senate floor over this program. Reid told the Times that the funding for the project was so-called black money, meaning that was secret money for classified programs. They just didn't want it talked about.
This was a picture I took back in 2017 at an apartment complex where I was a supervisor at. As you can see, it's a strange object in the sky. This would be another video, but
Phil Schneider speaks out before being killed. Philip Schneider was an ex-government structural engineer who was involved in building deep underground military bases for the United States government. He was one of only 3 people to survive an incident that occurred in 1979 between gray aliens and U.S. military forces at the Dulce underground base. For the last 2 years of his life, Schneider gave lectures about government cover-ups, black budgets, and UFOs. Schneider was never able or willing to prove his allegations, e.g. showing the entrance to Dulce base. His claims received little mainstream notice, but caused quite a buzz in UFO enthusiast circles. Schneider was found dead in his apartment on January 17, 1996. Some suggest Schneider was murdered after several attempts on his life and his family for exposing the truth about the US government's black budget and speaking openly about what's really happening underground with the alien agenda.
Now, another thing I want to reach to you is that during the unbelievable part, I was involved in building another base inside of Dulce, New Mexico, which is Los Alamos Laboratory. It's a biological laboratory. On the southwest part of the Archuleta Mesa, we built an underground facility, a better part of 3 cubic miles hollowed out underground. Then to the southwest of that, we were in the process of the early stages of building. We drilled 4 large tunnel-like holes. Some of them ran 2.5 miles under the surface. Number of the original wells or drilling machines that were used were at the rate of up 2 miles a day. It was fairly rapid. The equipment kept coming up broken. So we wanted to go down, we wanted to send somebody down there, a human observer, or human observers in this case, to find out what was going on. Well, to our total surprise, first of all, the government knew all about it. They didn't tell anybody. When I saw Green Beret and Black Beret people encamped inside of our geologist camp, I knew something was up, the gig was up. First of all, I knew all about the alien agenda. I'll explain that in a few minutes. The large alien grays had been encamped there for as best as believed possible about 400 or 500 years. It had been one of their internal bases. And we drilled holes right on top of it. All the stinking air, all the black sooty air came right out as soon as the first hole was sunk, and all this soot came up, and well, that's when all the hell broke loose, really, all started. Anyway, after we drilled all 4 holes, it took about 2 days to drill all 4 of them. And when you build an underground base, you drill 4 basic holes, and then you build called stopes or cross-member holes across, and then you use blasting equipment, special blasting equipment by the analyzation of the rock formation, and you literally blast out or tunnel out or deflagrate or melt rock out to build the large rooms that are required for this underground base. Well, in this process, I was lowered down the basket of one of these holes, and about from me to this elderly woman here in the front was sitting a 7-foot tall alien gray. The stench was worse than the worst garbage can you can imagine. The person was or the entity was absolutely horrible. I didn't waste any time. I reached for my pistol. At that time, as an engineer, I didn't have time to carry all the Folderol of one of these big submachine guns that all the sea spray and the yellow fruit and all the outer perimeter and inner perimeter security people carried. I carried a little Walther PPK pistol with a 9-shot clip. This was in late August of 1979. Now, you got a regular suit of clothes, you got a regular clothes on, plus you're in almost like a spacesuit environment, and you're reaching for a gun. It's not the easiest thing to do, and then to pop a clip in it and start shooting. And I killed 2 of them. Yes, they're mortal, and they do die. However, in the process, one of them did this. All I remember is that he just kind of waved his hand in front of his chest, and the next thing I know, this blue beam hit me and just literally opened me up like a fish, and burnt my fingers right off of me. And it was some form of electrical force, because the kind of like being hit by a lightning bolt burned all my toenails off of me. Completely crispy crittered my left foot, burnt the shoe right off of me. All I remember is the smoking remains, and I'm still conscious, but in and out of, I didn't remember much. And there was a Green Beret that was right behind me risked his life. In fact, he died. But he risked his life. He shoved me back in the basket and hit the button and took me up. And I wouldn't be alive talking to you today if it wasn't for him. I'm forever indebted. He lost his life. 66 Secret Service agents, Green Berets, Black Berets, crack troops lost their lives because the government, our United States government, lied, did not tell us anything about the alien threat. There's a war underneath there, and I'm talking dead serious. It's been going on since that time. Since late August of 1979, our military, the Russian military, basically the militaries of the world, have been in constant conflict with the outer space alien. The small gray, the large gray, the reptilians, the whole thing. There are 11 distinct races of aliens. 2 are benevolent. 1 had to leave here in a hurry because their world is under attack, both on the surface as well as underground. There, the Pleiadians. They're familiar. Maybe some of you are familiar with that. Would some of you raise your hands who've heard of Billy Meyer and some of the, very good, about half the group. Well, Billy Meyer is one of these lucky people that they figured, well, he's kind of a simple type, we'll show him everything. Well, these are the benevolent aliens, and they've been here helping us. In fact, I have a picture, let me reach for it here. I have a picture of one of the aliens been working for the United States Pentagon for the last 58 years. His name is Val Valiant Thor. He's right here. There's my father in the background. Val Valiant Thor. He's right here. There's my father in the background. This whole place, the ready room of the USS Eldridge, Al Bielek has probably explained, or maybe even shown you this picture. There's a list of some of the notable people in it. They're all the atomic bomb scientists of the day, all the time variant experimentalists of the day, all the top physicists of that particular day. This was in August of 1943. Now this guy has not changed one iota in 58 years. Started work, he came here, crashed here or whatever, whether he's under duress or not. He started work for our U.S. Navy and military operations in 1937, either 37 or 38 is what I've been told. So it's for 58 years, this man's been employed, probably under duress. If you don't do as we say, we're just going to use you for alien bait or something, I don't know. But anyway, he basically hasn't changed. He lives for 490 years, is what he says his lifespan is. Now, he's supposedly a semi-benevolent, he's a human-looking type person. He has 6 fingers and 6 toes, and he's got one oversized heart, 1 lung, giant lung. His blood vessels are bigger. He's got copper oxide for blood, similar to an octopus. His brain capacity, 300 centimeters greater than ours. He has a thinking capacity, IQ, if you were to measure it, be totally off the scale, be about a 1200 IQ. He speaks 100 languages fluently, alien as well as others. He's a remarkable person. I had a chance to meet him one time. Now, by the way, he doesn't shake hands. He's kind of in a spacesuit because all aliens, regardless benevolent or otherwise, they're carrying germs and diseases and bacterium in and on them that are deadly to us. If I were making policy, I'd quarantine them all because how do we not know that some of our diseases like AIDS, Ebola, hantavirus, and a few of these other weird designer diseases, as I call them, are not made from the cadavers of some of these aliens as a biological weapon to use against the people of the United States. Well, I'm a tired American speaking out.
Here's the thing, people. When it comes to who the angels are and who God truly is, we have the imagination of a 5th grader. You know, they told you for years what the angels were, balls of light, wings, and all that. None of that is biblical. That's not reality. You know, the angels are the aliens. The word alien comes from the word angel. The word angel comes from the word Anunnaki. The word Anunnaki comes from the word archons. These are the ones. He have just described to you a fallen angel. When they fall, they lose their covering. They are genetically structured just like us, just more of a higher self. Psalms chapter 8, verse 5 describes this. We was made lesser than the angels. This is not referring to Jesus Christ. Why would the Creator say that? You know, Jesus, wouldn't matter what form he take, he can never be lesser than the angels. If you read the whole chapter, you would see this was talking about mankind. He gave dominion to mankind. Here go the verses.
Psalms 8:5. BBE, for you have made him only a little lower than the gods, crowning him with glory and honor. Easy English, you made the place a little below God. You made them feel as kings. ISV, you made him a little less than divine, but you crowned him with glory and honor. KJV, for thou hast made him a little lower than the angels, and hast crowned him with glory and honor. Net, and make them a little less than the heavenly beings. You grant mankind honor and majesty. NHEV, for you have made him a little lower than the angels. See, you have crowned him with glory and honor. Web, for you have made him a little lower than the angels. Note, and crowned him with glory and honor.
And we will deal with one more scripture at the end of this video. He stated that the alien blood was copper oxide, which we have. They have a very high copper oxide in their blood. You know what it does to normal people when you have high levels of copper oxide? It secretes hormone growth. It makes you grow, baby. And since he has a lot of it, whoo, can you imagine what happened when they went into the daughters of men? These children shot up like beanstalks. And if you want to compare biblical history to reality, you can still see small traces of their genetic makeup in humanity today. We got people that's 8 and 9 feet tall today. Look at our basketball players. That genetic marker is still floating around today. It ain't as potent as it used to be because through generation to generation, it loses its punch. But it's there. You have to really apply biblical history to reality, you know, to see does it fit. Now, by him saying copper, that's how I know this man actually seen aliens. He could have said anything else, but he said that. And he also stated that the alien had 6 fingers and 6 toes, an extra digit. Reality meets biblical. Once again, the Bible describes the Nephilim, 6 fingers, 6 toes. You know, it's a fact. There are people on planet Earth today that have an extra digit. You can Google it all day, you will see it. These are not fake, they are real. Where do they get that extra digit from? How do they get it? Was it just born with it? Oh, it was just, you know, a mutated. Anytime you have a mutation, like an extra digit or something, it just don't happen. Oh, the body just added another finger because, no, it is a foreign DNA attached to the original. And every now and then, it will surface. And here's another one for you. The Bible speaks of chariots. Now, in modern time, we will call them spaceships or aircraft. Now, People claim that, the angels are light beings, they are spiritual spirits, that you can't see. Well, who in the hell is flying these damn chariots? You see what I'm saying? What would a spirit need with chariots, people? Chariots, a flying vehicle. I mean, in the book of Ezekiel, it goes to great detail, great lengths to even explain the landing gear of these chariots, the windows of this chariot. People, spirits do not need flying vehicles in the sense of what we perceive spirits to be. No, that wouldn't make any sense. Think, people, think. This is how they play on your psyche. This is how stupid it sounds. A spirit needs a chariot to move about, just like Wonder Woman had an invisible jet, and you could still see her. It's crazy.
Nigga, did you know that I can see you? Nigga, did you know that I can see you?
Daniel 10. Could it have been Jesus? I doubt it could be Jesus, because the implication of verses 12-13 is that the speaker was restrained by the prince of the Persian kingdom. I doubt the prince could have restrained Jesus. So is it an angel or a human? Verses 5-6 show that the person is an angel. I looked up, and there before me was a man dressed in linen, with a belt of fine gold from Uphaz around his waist. His body was like topaz, his face like lightning, his eyes like flaming torches, his arms and legs like the GLE am of burnished bronze, and his voice like the sound of a multitude. Can we know the identity of the angel? There are only two named angels in the Bible, Michael 1 and Gabriel. It cannot have been Michael, because the speaker refers to him in verses 13 and 21. So it must be either Gabriel or an unnamed angel. However, Daniel recognized Gabriel when he appeared in a previous vision, Daniel 9:21. While I was still in prayer, Gabriel, the man I had seen in the earlier vision, came to me in swift flight about the time of the evening sacrifice. Since he does not recognize Gabriel this time, it is also not likely to be him. Therefore my conclusion is, it is an unnamed angel. It was an angel that Daniel witnessed, most likely of a high order, because the other two angels that appear on either side of him inquire of his knowledge in Daniel 12:5-6. Difference between image and likeness of God. The Bible says that man was made in the image and likeness of God. Then God said, "Let us make humankind in our image, according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the wild animals of the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth." Genesis 1:26. Should we see a distinction between image and likeness? Different meaning. The Bible does make a distinction between these words. Image means idols, statues, or some artistic representation of things that are physical. Likeness has the idea of some type of representation. Hebrew parallelism. While it is true that each of these words may have a different dictionary definition, we should not expect to find two different meanings. NGS in this passage. This is an example of a common device in Hebrew literature known as parallelism. The two words are actually synonymous. The Hebrews would often emphasize something by stating the same thing in two different ways. This seems to be what we have here. There is no real difference between image and likeness. For example, the psalmist said, "Hear my prayer, O Lord, let me cry for help to come to you." Psalm 102:1. Prayer and cry are two different ways of saying the same thing. This literary device is used for effect, like God in some sense. Therefore, in Genesis, the text basically means that God, in some sense, has made humanity like himself. Like we saw in the previous question, we have many things in common with God. We are stamped with God's ownership. Therefore we should not attempt to find any difference between these two terms.